we have to understand one another aspect, that is mind, intellect, emotion and ego. Manam, buddhi, siddham, ahankaram. There is one another aspect, classification with related to the function of our mind. Totally speaking, it is mind. But with related to the function of the mind, we can divide the mind into four aspects. The first one is mind, the second one is intellect, the third one is emotion or siddham or the subconscious mind, and the fourth one is ego or ahankar. So mind means we have many wandering thoughts, we have many suggestions, we have many ideas. So all the ideas, all the suggestions are known as mind. The decision out of the many ideas, we come to a conclusion or decision. The decision is known as intellect or buddhi. Buddhi or intellect is known as the deciding factor. And the emotion or the chitta or emotion is the energy for the execution of our idea, execution of our decision. And the ego is the feeling that I am doing the something, is the ego. The ego we can deal with later in the topic who am I. We are dealing with the ego later. The first three, mind, intellect and emotion, that we can see now. For example, we are working in a office, maybe government office. At a stretch we are having a holidays, government holidays for 5 days. And we want to spend the 5 days of leave. And we are having many suggestions, many ideas how to spend the 5 days leave. Our mind says we may go to a hill station, or we may go to many places, or we may entertain a repair work of our house. So in this way, our mind gives many suggestions. And out of those suggestions, we have to select one. We cannot execute all the suggestions. So the suggestive part of our mind is known as mind. And the deciding factor, deciding aspect of our mind is known as the buddhi or intellect. So we have to select one. So whatever we have select, for our selection, we have to have some energy to execute it. For that, our chitta or the subconscious mind, that has to give energy for that. So there is no problem to understand what is mind, the suggestive part. There is no problem. And the decision making mind is known as the intellect. There is also a problem. But what is the relationship between the intellect and the emotion? That alone is the important thing we have to understand. For example, we are walking in our street. 100 meters away from ourselves, there is a crowd. We are seeing the crowd is standing there. From here we cannot know why the crowd is being there, what are they doing. We cannot understand from here. பரமசிவம், நீங்கள் மற்றதெல்லாம் பிறகு பார்த்துக்கலாம். நீங்கள் கரில் உட்காருங்க, நீங்கள் மற்றதெல்லாம் பிறப்பா. So we cannot understand from here because 100 meters away, the crowd is 100 meters away from us. We do not know what they are doing there, why they are crowding there. We do not know. So the mind says, we have to go there and look what is going on there. The mind suggests like this. The same mind suggests another thing. The crowd does not look normal. It seems to be an abnormal crowd. The persons standing there seems to be some unwanted elements. It is unnecessary for us to go there. We have to avoid the place. We have to go away somewhere else. So one part of our mind says we have to go to the crowd. The other part of our mind requires that we have to avoid the crowd. So the both suggestions are contradictory. We have to select out of the two contradictory desires, contradictory ideas. We have to select one. The intellect has to select one. For example, if the intellect selects the first suggestion, for example, what is the first suggestion? We have to go to the crowd. So if we select the first suggestion to go to the crowd, what kind of energy is required to go to the crowd? Some interest, some anxiety is necessary to activate ourselves to go to the crowd. So the energy portion or the subconscious mind creates the interest or anxiety upon us to go to the crowd. So we go to the crowd. Suppose the intellect selects the second option. What is the second option? The second option is to avoid the crowd. We have to go away from the crowd. So what kind of energy is needed to go away from the crowd? The fear or some tension or anything, some aversion. If we have the fear or aversion upon the crowd, then we avoid the crowd. So if we take the decision that we have to avoid the crowd, the fear or some aversion will come. That will be supplied by the emotional mind or the subconscious mind. So it will be supplied. So in this way, so whatever be the decision, according to that, the energy will flow like that. So actually the decision maker alone is the important role. That means the intellect or buddhi is the important role. And whatever may be the decision, the energy will follow. The energy will not have any idea. The energy will not have any decision. So it will follow the idea, follow the decision produced by the intellect. So whatever may be the decision, the energy will flow like this. So the regulated portion is only to the intellect. So whenever we are having a plan or anything in our world, in our activities, we have some decision. So if you have the correct decision, the correct energy will flow. So you need not to struggle with the energy. The energy will follow the decision. So we have to deal with the decision of our according to the circumstances. So our concern must be to the decision. If you take the correct decision, correct energy will flow. So you need not worry about the energy. Energy will follow. We need not worry about anything with related to this kind of energy I don't like, this kind of energy I like. We cannot have any choice. But we can decide. So for the external psychological world is concerned, where if it is purely psychological, there is no division like that, manam, buddhi, siddham, ahankar, or mind, intellect, emotion, or ego. There is no division at all. If it is purely psychological, here totally everything is mind. Whether it is in the form of energy, whether it is in the form of intellect, whether it is in the form of ego, everything is totally mind. Everything is one. There is no classification. But whenever we are related to the external world, external situation, we have to decide, we have to classify into 4 aspects. Then only we can have our action in a good way. So in the external world is concerned, we may have some philosophy, we may have some good philosophy, and we can follow the philosophy, we can have some principles, how to live, what kind of life we can have, what kind of arrangement we can have in our life, that we can have. But in the external world is concerned, we can arrange the life, arrange the pattern, arrange the situations and everything. But thereby we can have justice, we can have some discipline. For in the external world is concerned, discipline is necessary, justice is necessary, some good thing is necessary. But here some principles, some scriptures say how to deal with the society. They propose 3 kind of principle known as Maitri, Karuna, Upeksha. Maitri means relationship. Karuna means some love. Upeksha means getting away from something. So relationship means when we are related, for example, if somebody is our relative, our approach will be somewhat different. For example, we have some boy of the next house enter into our house and broken down our glass bureau. What will we do? We will be angry upon the person, we will shout upon the person, we will try to do some harm to the person. But at the same time, if our own boy, our son, as a little boy around the age of 6 or 7, he is doing some mischief and he is breaking down our glass bureau, we will control. But at the same time, we will not harm the boy. Instead of harming the boy, we will control the action. Here, because we are related to our boy, but we are not related to the other boy. So some connection of love is between our boy and ourselves. But we are having no love with the other boy, with the other person. So here, we have to understand, we have to take, everybody is related to ourselves. We have the philosophy like this. If we have the philosophy like this, naturally the emotion will be like this. Because we have some decision. The intellect have a decision that everybody is related. Then we come to a thing like this, the relationship, when we establish a relationship between the other person, naturally some unnecessary thing will not come. Some unnecessary emotion will not come. And I have read a book related to some mystical thing. There they referred an instance, referred a matter. where a person has some problem with his neighbor. The neighbor is also a powerful person, so he cannot directly do anything, any harm to the other person. So he wants to execute a black magic against the other person, the neighbor. He seeks the help of a person who has the power to do some black magic. He approached the person and asked him to do some wrong to the neighbor. And the neighbor has some capacity, he has some capacity to have some vision upon the other person's life history. And he told the neighbor, in the previous birth, the neighbor was your own son. But in this birth, he happened to be your neighbor and he happened to be your enemy. And in your previous birth, he was your son. Shall I do any harm to him? He asked like this. So he abandoned the effort to do such harm through black magic. So here he established a relationship. Previously he has actually some problem, physically some problem is there. But anyhow, he established a relationship, some way or other, he established a relationship. So by establishing a relationship between the other person, our temperament, our energy, everything changes. So that is the meaning for the first one, the Maitri. And Karuna, that means love, that is, we can feel, know very well. Because when you have the relationship with the other person, when we have the feeling of Maitri, when you have the feeling of relationship, naturally the Karuna, the love will come. And the other thing is that we have to get away from something. So something is not suitable for ourselves to act. If it is manageable to go along with that, if it is not permitted to go along with that, we have to get away from that. So that is one of the principles. So thereby we are minimizing the unnecessary trouble. So when we minimize the unnecessary trouble, naturally the unnecessary energy flow also will minimize. So this is related to the external world is concerned. Even though it is related to our psychological structure, the settling the outer situation to a certain level, it will helpful to deal with the psychological factor also. But anyhow, we should not have any idea that we should control our mind, control our emotion totally. So that is a different aspect. But when we deal with the situation, the unnecessary emotion will also create some harm. So we have to deal with the situation in an intellectual way. If you have the desired decision in an intellectual way, thereby some necessary emotion alone will come. So that is why indirectly you are dealing with your emotion also. But doesn't matter. But if you are dealing with the external situation, thereby you may also deal with your emotion. But it is not a direct venture to saturate your mind in a perfect condition. Keeping the mind in a perfect condition is not the goal. But the main thing is that we have to have a good relationship with the society, good relationship with the circumstances, good relationship with the problem we are having with, because some controversial persons we have to live with some controversial persons. Some unnecessary problem may come. So here we may have some principle, we may have some philosophy, we may have some order or discipline to saturate everything. This is only to deal with the external world. but it is not directly deal with ourselves. So direct psychological world is concerned, the only one idea is alone. We have to be without any work psychologically. Psychologically everything is good, nothing is bad. But in the legal studies, there is a legal maxim, because we cannot, in the olden days, the law has been, the England has given the law and everything, and in England the king is the main person, and no law can punish a king. The king can punish anybody, but no law can punish a king. So they have a legal maxim: king can do no wrong. There is a legal maxim. That means whatever he has done, it is not at all a wrong. So the king can do no wrong. That is a legal maxim. Because no law can be, with no law, a king cannot be punished. So in this way, psychologically, everybody is the king. So we cannot do any wrong. But it is not applicable to the physical world. Physically, something is good, something is bad. Something is right, something is wrong. So here we have to separate everything. But psychologically, we need not separate anything. Psychologically, we have to come to a conclusion: everything is natural, everything is good, everything is okay. So we have to give okay to the psychological world. But it does not mean all activities of the world is not good, is good. So something may be good, something may be bad. We have to correct. If it is bad, we have to correct. If it is right, we have to encourage the right thing. So the way of life we have to arrange, but we should not arrange our psychological world. We have to give okay to everything. When we give liberation to the psychological world, with our mind, the total mind became a liberated mind. Otherwise, the mind became a struggling mind. If you regulate the mind, it is an unnecessary job. Even how many life you can take, you cannot separate the mind. The mind will be like this. We cannot separate the waves of the sea. It will be like that. But at the same time, whenever we give freedom to our mind, the total mind will be in a freedom, in the liberated mind. So the liberated mind is a different kind of mind. It is just like a living river where nothing will stay there, everything will be washed away.